Sup, nerds? I'm James with Nerd Alert, and I'm here with.
Jimmy.
And today we are talking about what has to be like my favorite 80s franchise, Tron, with the most recent news of its new installment, Tron Ares. I am giddy with excitement. I feel like a kid on Christmas.
Anytime we get more Tron, I am stoked, mainly because it's few and far between. Like when they announced Legacy, it was like, holy crap. And it was one of those things where they just released the trailer at San Diego Comic-Con. It wasn't a trailer either because it turned out to be footage that was never used again. But it was so exciting to see this with Jeff Bridges looking down. It's like, oh my God, it's happening. And that film has grown on me over time. When we first saw it, and then it was 3D once we got in the grid. Oh my God, that was so amazing. Admittedly, I thought there were parts that kind of dragged on, but now over time, I really have come to appreciate it, especially as it ties into the original Tron and then the animated story, which was also amazing, and super bummed that got canceled. So when they announced Tron Ares, wow, we were excited, but trepidatious. And then they announced the cast, and it's like, okay, Jared Leto. He's a great actor, but sometimes he does goofy stuff. Then they announced the directors and writers. It's like, these guys really haven't done sci-fi stuff that would really excite me. But then I look back and I'm like, well, Steve Lisberger, when he made Tron, wasn't really known for a ton of stuff. And then I think it was what Joseph Kaczynski or something like that did the second one. It was like, okay. He was not known for sci-fi and stuff like that at the time, and he's gone on and made some really, really fun stuff since then. But Tron Legacy again has, in my mind, grown and really held up with time. So I'm excited for this. And the storyline with the footage that they released in Brazil at the Disney convention, really, I mean, we haven't seen it, but the description was exciting. What were your thoughts?
I have always seen Tron as Disney's greatest gamble. They don't tend to make original content. When you really look at their lineup of films throughout history, a lot of it is adaptations of classic legends, or in the case of Fantasia, it is Fantasia, right? That's the title? Where it's the music.
Like he's the magician?
Yes, Fantasia. Okay. Just want to make sure, because I feel like I confused that with another one that's not Disney, where you have like classical pieces with animation over it. They don't tend to stray far away from using something that already exists and adapting it. So Tron was something completely new. Tron has always been a gamble for Disney. So when you have the first Tron in the 80s being a completely new IP that basically was revolutionary for the time and has become a cult classic, and then you have Legacy, which was the continuation and has also become a cult classic, Ares, no matter what, will be good. And I say that as like, yes, we're trepidatious about the pieces being put together, but Jeff Bridges endorsing it, I'm like, okay, you know what, Mr. Bridges, I trust you. So it's going to be good no matter what. Even if it is scorned at the box office, it's still going to be Tron at its core.
Well, and the cast is really good as well, in that we have Greta Lee, and that, just to give a little description of the what we read, was Greta's Lee character is a programmer, and not exactly sure, obviously, how this happens, but whatever she's working on, she is the one that creates the role of Athena. No, I'm sorry. Did I read that right? No. I believe she's the one that was the reason why Ares, Jared Leto's character, is able to come to the real world. And then it's Athena, who is played by Jodie Turner-Smith, who is angry at Ares for leaving his mission behind, which goes to one of our favorite lines. Am I still to build the perfect world? Yeah. That I feel like that was his mission. And then he found, well, I can go and do a mission here, and then gave up his mission wherever he was with Athena. So now all hell is breaking loose. And the other part they said was, we're moving away from the blue that was prevalent in Legacy and going to the crimson, which is in Ares that we've seen from the posters and such. And it gives me this vibe of, are we almost with the Empire Strike Back stage of Tron, in that we're getting the evil, the master control, what have you, is making a comeback of some sort? I don't know, but it sounds, the more we're getting this story, it sounds more exciting, and I'm getting more amped.
Yes, seeing that they're going more towards crimson and orange makes me believe that Jeff Bridges is not Flynn, but rather some version of Clue in this storyline. Because, I mean, yes, of course, Flynn lives. That's a given. But given the coloration they're going for, I honestly think we're going to see more Clue than we will Flynn. And I can't say more about that purely because it's like movie hasn't come out yet. I don't know how much they're going to go for one or the other. I mean, they could clearly go with Flynn because, Flynn's a classic character, but at the same time, they could go for Clue and really just upend the system. What I really want to see here is just how much they play with what these programs are, because I mean, Ares and Athena, they're clearly pulling from Greek mythology in some capacity, even if it's the classic, oh, we're programmers, we're going to use cool names for our programs. But at the same time, the parallels to Greek mythology make me wonder what's really going on here. If this is the grid we know and love, if this is a separate grid, because we've seen in spin-offs like the new visual novel that released some time ago, it's a different grid removed from the original. They could very easily be taking a different storyline from a different grid. And so it's not necessarily removed completely from the original storyline, but it's going to be more of a storyline into itself rather than focusing on Tron and Dillinger and all these different components of the original duology.
But I think that's what's exciting is one, there's not the fanfare for Tron that we get with Marvel and Star Wars, so that things get spoiled left and right. So who knows where they're going and what they're trying to sneak into this script. Like Flynn Lives could easily be Sam coming back, and they just haven't announced it.
That's true.
Somehow. That would be exciting. But also, I take a little different perspective. Flynn Lives, if it is, and the fact that Jeff Bridges is coming back, I'm not sure we're going to see Clue per se, other than when they combine together at the end of Legacy, and they're almost like a ghost in the system. It's almost like a ghost in the machine. That storyline, if they're able to pull pieces here and there from that sort of thing, and then the whole naming convention of the damn franchise, Tron. Like, is Bruce coming back? Bruce Boxleitner? Is he going to be coming back? Alan? That would be phenomenal. We did in Legacy, and this is years ago, but we got behind the scenes teases with Ram still being around, which would be exciting.
That is true. I mean, we never saw the grid destroyed, just reset. So that's it. You bring up a good point that Flynn is now a ghost in the system. I guess a good way to look at it is that when Flynn created Clue, it's not necessarily a copy and paste system. He has to give up some form of data from himself so that it became the perfect idealization via code of himself, in that if you give Clue a operative, he's going to follow it. Like, there's the classic joke in programming. If you tell the code what to do, it's going to do it to the letter of the law. If you tell it to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich by putting the knife in the peanut butter jar, it's going to drop the knife in the peanut butter jar. And that's that.
And you can't blame the program or the computer because it was the human that did it.
So it makes me wonder.
Exactly what they say in Legacy with Flynn realizing that when he said those words to build the perfect system, and he was very literal about it, it's here with AI, and it's like, yeah, you had an idea of what it should be, but he took it to almost like Ultron. Well, the perfect system means humans have no role in it because they're a problem. And then
exactly.
When what are they called? The ISOs show up. That obviously became a problem. That's why he started wiping them out.
Very much like Terminator in that way, and that Terminator assessed the perfect world exists void of humanity, so that Clue assesses the perfect system as something with complete order. There cannot be any chaos.
And that's why that line is so perfect. Am I still? And he's like, he's literally asking permission from the creator. Am I supposed to do this? And when he verifies, yes, basically entering his password, I'm human, sort of thing. And he's like, cool, you gave me the power, and now I turned against you. Not really. I'm just fulfilling what I was programmed to do.
So the reconsolidation of the two is almost the practical mind and the creative mind being consolidated into one thing again. So it's very much a ghost in the shell, and that Flynn has basically become AI when
Yeah.
you look at it. He has become fully autonomous again,
And
and that
that's
he is now an ISO.
and now, I mean, obviously back in the 80s when the original Tron came out, we did not have the connectivity that we have now, and that everything is online basically. So with whatever grid he built for Legacy, wherever that laid or rested or whatever, it could be connected to the central system. So whatever became of Tron and Flynn in that movie could theoretically get to anywhere else. So if it's in Greta Lee's computer, whatever she's doing, then okay, cool.
That's true. And who's to say that Greta Lee's character didn't inherit that system?
Out. Yeah.
Exactly. It makes me wonder if she just stumbled upon that PC or something and was like, oh, cool, free stuff, and just took it. And now she has the grid, which to her looks completely void of data, but you have the purified Tron, you have the ISO Flynn. So now while she's building her own program from scratch in it, there's still Flynn and Tron, but now she has this whole different system built upon it with Athena and Ares and whoever else she decides to program in.
And let me ask you this: why do you keep saying ISO Flynn?
The way I see it is that the ISOs are AI. They were spawned from program and machine learning in Legacy, and they do not function under what would be considered the users. So it makes me think they were meant to be a parallel to AI in some fashion, which is also why Flynn, being a hard set, or Clue being a hard set program, wanted to destroy them. So now that Flynn lives completely within the binds of the programming, but not under the concept of a user, he's just an ISO, essentially.
So you don't think he's the creator anymore, meaning the ultimate user. You think now he's been evolved into an ISO.
In a way, and that he is, because he lost his disc, he gave it to Korra. Mm-hmm. He is now stuck in the system, but he is evolved to be an ISO, almost a creator ISO in a way, and that he still can, build things and whatnot, because we saw he could do it even when he didn't really have his disc. But now he's just stuck in the program as, like you said, a ghost in the machine.
Yeah, I definitely think that would be an interesting way to go. And I did look it up because for some reason I thought we talked before and Evan Peters was confirmed to be a Dillinger. But as I looked up on IMDb, he has no character listing. So I don't know if they've changed their mind or whatever. So like you were talking about Dillinger, I'm like, I thought he was in it, but maybe that's not a given. And then I'd completely forgotten that Gillian Anderson joined the cast of X-Files fame, which is awesome. And then Cameron Moynihan, who is a very famous redheaded actor, James.
I really want to see if they do the visual effects of like the crimson hair in the grid. I think there's a lot of ways they can go with this. I think it would be a waste to not build off of what has been established.
Yeah.
But I also think it'd be a waste to rely too heavily on what's been established. I think the idea of her having what was the grid, but was then like wiped when Korra and Flynn left, or Korra and Sam left.
Yeah.
And you have the consolidated Flynn and purified Tron. I think that is a perfect place to start from, in that she sees these bugs, but she passes them off as like some fault of like her 1980s PC with the grid in it. Because if you think about it, that PC is fucking ancient. I mean, when does Tron take place? 1982 or some crap? That PC is
82. So obviously 82 was the furthest technology they were going to be able to put into it, but it's basically late 70s, early 80s technology that they're
exactly using. So you have a PC that's at its youngest from 1982 to then Legacy, which was the 2010s. So that's about 30 years old. And then now you have the 2020. So that's like a 40-year-old PC. So if she's using the actual hardware from the first Tron, which is assumed to be the same hardware in Legacy, just slightly upgraded.
Yeah.
Of course, she's going to be like, oh, shit, there's a bug in this like 40-year-old computer. Oh, whatever. But surprise, that bug is, Tron and Flynn. And so maybe that's how Ares manages to get out, is that it's like, you can never create or destroy information. It's a fundamental law of the universe. So somehow the information of the previous grids is still there. Ares taps into that and learns, oh shit, I can go to the real world.
Yeah, that's what I also want to bring up is the music. And I love the fact that Wendy Carlos is basically becoming a household name or more famous because of her work on the original. And the music in that is so beautiful. And it was really unlike anything we'd ever experienced before, meshing a movie that was so futuristic with the music that was futuristic. And then Daft Punk, in my opinion, just took it to the next level with Legacy. It was so amazing and didn't undo what Wendy did, but built on what she did. So it was just like, oh my gosh. And now we have Trent Reznor coming in. I'm excited. I don't know what he is going to do. I just know he has an amazing, like the Hurt song that he did with Johnny Cash. And I know it was a Nine Inch Nails original, but when he redid it with Johnny Cash in the video, it was like, that is perfection. Like Nine Inch Nails version is like, good. It's a song. Johnny Cash, beautiful. So to see what Trent Reznor can do with Tron, I'm excited. Stoked.
Absolutely. So the original soundtrack Wendy Carlos created for the first Tron is perfectly assonant, and that means together. Sorry, I confuse like dissonance, consonance, and assonance all the time. It perfectly matches the tone of the original. It's an unexplored world. It's new and full of wonder. And so you have the soundtrack that perfectly encapsulates that feeling. And then you have Legacy with Daft Punk, and they heavily studied Carlos' work on the original. And they captured what happens when the grid is left to rot. And that it's like, it's their soundtrack is grungy and dark. And it kind of feels like off when you listen to it sometimes. And that it's like, it's 2010's edge, but it's like, it perfectly encapsulates a feeling of Legacy, which is a grid that is so far gone and has basically become a giant cesspool of programs killing each other for entertainment, which I mean, kind of was what the original.
Truly a fascist regime.
Exactly. And now that you have Nine Inch Nails and Trent Reznor, is that his name?
Yep.
Sorry, I couldn't remember if it was Reznor or Reznor. On this next one, it makes me wonder if the sound of grunge that Nine Inch Nails is known for is being incorporated, because this grid is even darker in that it was built with like strict laws and rules that Greta's character has created.
Well, here's the scary part. We don't know, but we know he's coming into the real world. Mm-hmm. So is this song indicative, or is his music choices going to be indicative of how not awesome the real world can be? And it's like,
I was going to say, the programs see the real world as this utopia, this godly place that they can never touch. So to come to it and be like, oh shit, this sucks. It's like, is Ares basically a program made to keep things in check? So when he comes to the real world and sees that it's crap, he's like, I have to fix things.
And that's where I would love, I mean, it's a stretch to even think that Olivia Wilde would come back. But when Sam and Cora are on the motorcycle at the end and she's basically getting her first sunrise, and it's like, that's beautiful because you can't replicate that in any program. So for her to experience real life is amazeballs. So when Ares does it, yes, we're assuming because he's red and all that it's going to be evil or angel or whatever. But is there something about it that he wants to bring that to the grid, not in a way that's like, you need to be this set of laws, but like, look at this beauty. And it's almost like the ISOs. Don't know. So I don't know who the bad guy is. We just assume it's Ares plus his name. But it's almost exactly the sweetest girl ever. So who knows?
Oh God, no. Athena hated her father and was also a bit of a word I won't use.
She's a warrior. So
exactly. So it makes me wonder if the two are meant to be almost like the guardians of their program. So in the real world, Ares is like, look at this beauty, as he points to like a pile of dog shit. It's like, there is something mystical about it, almost as if seeing the real world breaks his brain, and that it's like the real world is so strictly consonant with itself. It's in a constant state of disagreement, and that it's like he almost breaks and has this realization that the grid cannot ever be perfect or idealized because it's like the real world is perfect because it sucks. And that he's like, no, we have to make a world of complete chaos that trends towards entropy. And Athena's like, but that's not our programming. And so you almost have the inverse of the two, in that Athena is almost the antagonist because she follows the strict code of rules, because she wasn't just the goddess of war, she was also the goddess of intelligence and law. So then you have Ares, who is strictly the god of war, and in some cases art, it's really weird, who is like, well, no, we can create the perfect system by unleashing chaos.
And they're both children of Zeus. And that just hit me. What was the character's name? The ISO that Sam went to go see at the top of the line club, end of the line club.
Oh my God, was that dude's name Zeus?
Wasn't his name Zeus?
It was something like that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've never delved that far into it. Now I got sorry nerds. Got to look into this.
Oh my God, Zeus, Z-U-S-E.
Michael Shannon is it Mary? I think that's who it was, wasn't it?
Michael Sheen.
Michael Sheen, just an amazing actor anyway. But it never occurred to me he went by Castor in the club version, but the ISO name was Zeus. Now it's not spelled Zeus the god, but it's pronounced Zeus. So it's like, I wonder, did they have anything to do with it? Because he was once good, now playing for himself any way he can. So again, so total stretch nerds don't think we know what's going on, but wow, that would be interesting.
It's a correlation, not a causation, but there might be something there. Because maybe, again, the ghosts in the shells are actually the ISOs. And so you have these ISO programs, bugs, and the programmer taps into them and she's like, oh, I can use these. And so maybe Ares and Athena are coincidental offspring of what was the ISO programs.
Which cool, because it goes back to the original. We got the representation of the bugs as those green things popped up on the grid and they were going after them when they were on the wind sailor. It's like, nice.
It's there. I really hope they draw from past films, but not enough to hinder what could be something new. But either way, this looks like it's set up to be something that is worthwhile no matter how you cut it.
And I'll go back to, I love that Tron. Well, I don't love that it flies under the radar so we don't get more movies and more product, but I do love how it flies under the radar and that we just don't have enough interest for spoilers. So we can guess and have rumors and go into it pretty fresh.
It is definitely one of the few franchises where you can speculate and really not know what the hell's going to happen. It's a tragedy that so many modern mega franchises have the leakers who ruin everything. And it's like,
I will say this, the Tron franchise is better than the Matrix franchise. Just saying.
Leagues by leagues. It's funny how you have one that's edgy 2000s and just couldn't surpass the original. And then you have one that's 80s, in some ways, goofiness that manages to outdo itself every time.
And I will go back to one thing you said, that Tron was one of the biggest risks that Disney ever tried, right? I disagree.
Oh, God. I should have expected that.
Sequel, Disney!
I should have expected that. Oh, God. Condor Man.
And on that note, let us know what you guys think, nerds. Tron Ares coming out October 2025. We are stoked. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below. Nerd out.